Five, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, hello, willkommen, bienvenue, konnichiwa. It's time for the Amish Inquisition yet again, episode 155 on Sunday the 18th of November. I'm Amish Phil.
I'm Amish Ben.
I'm Amish Matt.
The dwarf, the cripple, and the mother of madness.
And we've got a couple of very special guests in tonight. Oh, what's that sound? Can you hear that?
No.
It's October.
It's a happier place to be.
Maple syrup is the best. It's so good.
Oh, this bit.
Just be present with me and love me.
That's right. Well, your wishes are command. We've got Darren and Graham here from Grimerica. How are we doing, chaps?
Pretty good. I'm drying the tears away from my eyes already. I knew you guys would be good crack.
Oh, my word. How do,
I was just going to, just before you begin, Phil, have you just completely ripped off our podcast from Grimerica? That the entire thing.
Yeah, well, no.
Okay, what's ours is yours. It's free of charge. Value for value.
It's a good job.
Who made that jingle for you?
I think that was Felix the Jingle Maker.
Felix at bandcamp.com? No. Bandcamp.com / we should know that.
Yeah, it's in our show notes.
It's in the show notes. Actually, he just sent me a new song last night.
Oh,
I think you'll get a kick out of it.
Yeah.
It seems like it's about us.
Well, I was saying before, it's great to have you here. I've been listening to you guys for probably, I think, about 6 years, maybe more.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah,
So you know us.
You know UK posse members.
Yeah,
you have to get you a hat or something. You probably could be number one. I think Graham's Gainsford was number one, actually.
Right.
You could be number two, though.
All right, I'll take that. I'll take number 2. What rank is that in Starfleet, Ben?
I think that's like lieutenant.
Yeah.
First officer, isn't it?
First officer.
Graham's first officer.
Oh, all right. Sorry. Who's captain?
I'm the captain.
I get it now.
Actually, when we get the cruise ships, I'll be an admiral.
Oh.
Nice.
Once we have multiple ships.
Now, is this actually a serious proposition, getting the Grimerica cruise ship?
It's getting there.
Is it? That's
The
how...
Love Boat style. Did you ever watch that, Dan?
No, the Love Boat was before my time. I didn't see much Love Boats.
And you guys watch the Love Boat? No.
No.
Was it soft porny?
No, it wasn't. It was real cheesy.
It's a motorboat.
If we did have a cruise ship, though, we could come get you guys.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think we do need bailing out over here because things are really turning a bit pear-shaped.
Can you swim 150 miles? That's how far off coast you can get.
How far is it across the channel?
It's 20.
Because they've done that. They've swam the channel before. Not you guys, but
Yeah, it's about
But there's
23 miles, I think.
23 miles. Yeah, that's a lot.
Is there any international water in the channel? I thought, didn't we look this up a while ago and you got to be like 150 miles offshore?
No, I think it's 20 miles. I thought 22 mimiles or something. Yeah, I mean, you might be able to swim it. They probably did it just past the swim limit, you know. Just like, how far can a human swim? We'll just make it a couple miles past that.
Didn't Dave McAfee do something like that? Go out into international waters?
John McAfee?
Oh, John McAfee.
He's in jail now.
Has he
He's
actually?
arrested. He got arrested in Spain or some shit. Yeah, they're trying to extradite him to the U.S. now for tax evasion.
Oh, man.
That's how they always get him, isn't it?
That's how they get you. Yeah.
Fuck.
That's the thing about the U.S. It's got a super powerful state. Like, they'll come get your ass anywhere. I feel like Canada, if you got out of the country, they're just like...
That's the IRS, I guess, is it?
Yeah, I think there's like 10 times as many people working for the IRS as there is for like the entire Canadian government.
We're the opposite. Our inland, what is it? Is it Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs?
Revenue and Customs now, yeah.
Yeah, they're usually the first public sector place to get culled, aren't they, when there's a downturn?
You guys must have a pretty powerful state, I guess, right? You guys sort of invented it.
Good question. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I'd say so. Like the National Health Service and things like that, and benefit system and all the rest of it, I'd say. Welfare. That kind of side of things. Quite socialist, aren't we?
There's a phrase called state capacity, and it refers to the sort of the ability of the state to get things done. And when it comes to the UK and most European countries, we've sort of, over the last 50 years, we've lost a lot of our state capacity because it's been outsourced to the EU. But countries with really high state capacity are countries like Australia. They're really...
Yeah, you see what happens when you have real good state capacity? You get real good at locking motherfuckers in their houses and arresting them for leaving.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Problem.
Couldn't agree more.
This is the thing, the newfound hope I've found in Canada is the state, when you really take a close look at it, is super weak. And I feel like, if it's just you and a couple of people, you're still in all kinds of trouble. But if you could get, a half a legion or so, you might be able to negotiate.
How do your gun laws compare to the US?
They're quite a bit stricter. We don't do handguns here. You got to get a restricted license to get a handgun. Once you get a restricted license, now you've given the RCMP sort of, they can show up at your house and search the place without a warrant, and it opens up all sort of weird things. If you want to transport a handgun, you got to call the firearms office and tell them you're doing it.
Like even if you're going to the range?
You can't bring a handgun anywhere but the range in Canada. So I can't be in the bush. When I'm out in the bush with my rifles, I couldn't even if I did have a handgun, I couldn't have it with me. The only time you can have a handgun with you is back and forth to the range. But as far as long rifles and stuff like that, there's pretty easily accessible. You do a 1-day course, sign up for the thing, get your possession acquisition license. It's a 1 or 2 day course and pay $60. And then that just kind of puts you on the database that is mainly, so if they kind of run your name. Once you're in that database, they'd run your name every other day or every day to see if you've had any assault charges or anything like that. And if anything like that starts coming up, they'd probably come and pay you a visit. And I know if you've got an ex-spouse or something like that, anytime you renew your license, they email them and let you know, hey, by the way, your ex still has guns. But other than that, once you do that, it's kind of open season. Once you've got your gun license, I could go buy a dozen guns today if I wanted.
But could you carry them around with you? You can't carry. It still has to be.
I can carry my rifle. Has to be stored in a safe or with a trigger lock on it. But when I'm out and about, unless I'm in a wildlife corridor, it doesn't have to be cased. In hunting season, in the dark at night, probably you want to have it cased or trigger locked so you don't get nailed for poaching or something like that. But other than that, if I've got the gun in my sight, it doesn't have to be locked. So technically, I think you could walk around downtown with a rifle on your shoulder. You'd probably get all sorts of attention, but I think that's
kind of what I was getting at.
The bylaws might get you, but
the local bylaws, city or
get you, but once I'm outside of the city, I can walk around with the gun. The only thing is, if it's in my truck, it can't be loaded. Once I get out of the truck, it can be loaded.
Wow.
And I've got unlimited access to ammo. I can buy guns secondhand. I like to buy my guns secondhand. A gun kind of never loses value. And I just like, we don't have a gun registry here. It's completely voluntary. So not a lot of people are doing it, but you do still, like if you go buy a gun from Canadian Tire or Cabela's or something like that, you're filling out paperwork. So there's not technically a registry. I don't say the government would know you had that gun per se, but it's still a bit of a paper trail. Whereas if you buy them, I like to buy my guns used just because then it's just, most of the guns I've got, nobody knows I've got but me.
Is there any restrictions like that? I know in south of your border, they're pushing to have sort of checks done for people who maybe have mental health issues or a history of mental health.
If you have if you have an assault charge or anything like that or anything, I don't know, but I'm sure they have, because I know a friend of mine had an old assault charge, and for him to get approved to get his gun license, he had to go see a shrink a couple of times and go through a program, and they really evaluated to make sure. I mean, in my opinion, the gun laws in Canada work pretty well. Some people might not like them. I don't agree with the ban lists that are coming out now. I'm exempt from them because I'm an Indian, but I don't agree with restricting it any further. I think we've got a system that works pretty well in Canada. It's something like 95% of or more of gun violence in Canada, which is minimal already, is with illegal firearms. So legal firearms don't seem to be causing any problems. Even our mass shooting we had, was that this year?
It wasn't real, was it?
Well, if it was real, it was done with illegal guns.
With illegal?
Illegal guns smuggled into the country from the States, yes.
That seems quite a sensible set of rules. I mean, compared to what you hear about coming out of the States.
I'm a pretty big, I don't mind the Canadian system at all. I really don't. They've got some weird limits on ammo, and like I say, they've restricted a few things as of late that I don't really agree with. But I don't mind a bit of a background check. But that at the same time, I don't know. I mean, maybe if the government has access to guns, the people should too, because we might be heading into a super, super scary time.
Yeah, give it another 6 months when the Great Reset is upon you.
I'm happier to have a gun safe upstairs with some guns and some ammo in it. Like, I'm not worried about food supply. I'm not worried about security to a certain extent. It's a way different feeling just having that in your closet. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. You can't really put a word on just that tool. You know what I mean? It would kind of be like having a furnace in some ways. If it gets cold, it's all right. I got this. Like, I guess in today's world, we're kind of worried about that even a little bit. So it'd be nice. Like, it'd be nice to have a house with a wood stove these days. If you had a wood stove in your basement, that's just a security blanket, sort of. You know what I mean? I feel like the gun's the same thing. It's a pretty important tool to have for a couple of reasons. One is eating, two is security, and three is, I don't think that the government should be the only person with guns. It seems like if everybody's got some guns, then people are more likely to be treated fairly and with respect.
Adam Curry often says that a well-armed citizenry is a polite citizenry. Or worse to that
and
fact.
Texas is one of the most polite places I've ever been.
Are there pretty strict rules if you do break the gun laws? Like if you are caught carrying a handgun when you shouldn't be?
I don't know exactly, but yeah, you'd be.
I don't think there's strict laws for anything here, really. They're letting people out all the time.
You'd lose access to your firearms for sure. You'd be done. Now, if you got caught with a handgun that you weren't supposed to have, then you would not have access to any legal guns anymore.
Yeah, it's interesting what you say about wanting to feel safe, and part of the Second Amendment rationale behind it was to be able to protect yourself from enemies at home or abroad, meaning your own government, and being able to form a militia. And then I saw something on Instagram this week from the Canadian Parliament about them feeling out building internment camps.
Yep, that's a true thing. I saw it on the government website.
What's that?
I saw the video, on Insta, I think.
Yeah, I had to double check it because I don't know what's real these days. But yeah, it's a real RFP. They're asking for people to
what's RFP?
Get involved in request for a proposal kind of thing, or maybe it's not that exact acronym, but it's definitely, you know, in the official tender process of developing these isolation camps or internment camps, I guess they call them.
Ooh, when they go bust, maybe we could buy one cheap and make the commune there.
But I mean, I don't know how. Like, I don't know. The timing seems pretty suspect. Really, it does.
What's this intern? Are they interning COVID people? You mean?
Well, that's what they say, but they say they won't answer the question in Parliament. Like they just avoid it like the plague. They're just fucking brutal.
In the RTP, there's no mention of COVID. It's just for
there is. They do mention it. They say that it's for COVID, but they also say it's for other things. But in Parliament, they're trying to say it's from people traveling to you know.
I'll tell you who it's for. It's for Chinese Canadians when we slip into the business.
Yeah, it's kind of scary, to be honest. I think the timing's not good. I feel like their plan, they just could not even plan this thing properly, and they're scrambling around.
I'm not saying that there's anything against Chinese Canadians and against the government, because I do think that if you see us slip into another global conflict, you're going to see all those same stuff, those horrible mistakes of the last couple of wars repeated almost instantly.
Are they kind of re-education camps then? How to wash your hands?
Yep.
I think
you've tested false positive for COVID, go to the camp.
Yeah. Or it's just people stealing money. I mean, there's always that going on too.
I've said like
COVID seems to have ramped up the ability to steal taxpayer dollars and give them to your friends. We're building these camps, and then you go to the camp, and it's just like there's no insulation in the walls. The studs are spaced every 4 feet, and someone's got a pocket full of money.
It's the same with the vaccine thing. It's a big money spinner, isn't it?
Exactly. How much did Canada? We spent what, $8 billion, or 20 billion to
drug companies got fucking paid, man.
before anything even happened. They're already set. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Do the pharmaceutical companies own the mask game too?
I don't know.
Who's making money on these fucking masks? Because billions of masks are being sold currently.
Hey, your This Is Bullshit masks are doing pretty well, aren't they?
They could be doing better lately. I mean,
we should talk about them. We should plug them.
Mandates are ramping up, and I don't know if it's just more people not complying, which I have plenty of time for. But if you are going to comply, then you might as well use a Grimerica This Is Bullshit mask. Grimerica Swag. I actually had to go to the doctor last week, and I got an official note. So that just for an ace up my sleeve.
An exemption?
Yeah. I don't need it for any place but a couple of job sites, and if you want to fly, and there's a couple of places that are starting to really crack down. So my hope is I can stir somebody into a lawsuit.
Are they actually mandatory in Canada?
They say they're mandatory in Calgary.
It's a city by city kind of thing.
Right.
So our little town,
I went out for dinner
or corporation by corporation, depending on where you're shopping or where you're visiting.
I went out for dinner Friday night in Calgary, and it was the most people I've ever seen in one place without masks in months. I've never seen, because of the way the restaurant rules are. So it's like, I guess these people, and it's just a little restaurant.
That's so stupid.
Seats maybe 70 people or something like that, but there's no social distancing. They put up a little piece of plexiglass between us, but other like this place is at capacity. It's loud. People, nobody's wearing a mask. They wear a mask for the 10 steps from the front door to your table, and then to
go to the washroom, you got to get up and put your mask on and go to the washroom.
It seems like by that time, they just don't give a fuck.
Such a farce.
It really gave me a lot of hope, actually, that the people that seem to be the compilation just seems to be gone as soon as you get people back in that regular human atmosphere. They just forget.
They'll be shutting that down. I mean, they already shut that down in Toronto, didn't they? So it's coming here. They
can't shut it down, though. If the people just stop doing it, they can't shut it down. This is the thing I keep coming back to. If nobody listens, they can't do anything. It says right in the bylaw, if they're not wearing a mask, assume they've got an exception and leave them the fuck alone. So all we have to do is just stop listening. And there's no they.
Yeah, there's a risk in this country of people being prosecuted under equality legislation.
Much bigger risk, it would seem, than we do here. Which, I mean, that's why now's the time in Canada to, if you don't like the rules, fucking push back, because there's no real. If you're on an airplane, probably don't fuck around. I've heard some horror stories.
Yeah.
They ban you, straight up ban you from the airline for a year.
Right.
Really?
And Canada's a big country, so if you get banned from an airline, you're really limiting your. I mean, it's got to be tough for you guys coming from that little island, and you're stuck and you can't leave the country. Can you even go to Scotland?
I leave Lancashire. Well, strictly speaking,
now.
we can't leave Lancashire, so the county border is as far as we get, really.
What, really?
We're not supposed to do any non-essential travel whatsoever.
It's like that is not enforceable at the moment, though, is it? That was guidance.
Because you got a million roads leading out of Lancashire to other places, right?
Yeah. There's motorways, or highways, whatever, and then sort of like A and B roads, so country lanes, and then like bigger roads and stuff. Thousands there'll be. Hundreds.
Yeah.
Lancaster?
Sorry?
How many people live in there?
In Lancashire, I think it's 1.5 million, I think.
Wow. The same size as Calgary. You know what I think another telltale thing is I see all these cops everywhere, and none of them are wearing masks.
Really?
I mean, the cop cars, if you look in a cop car, if there's 2 cops in there, none of them wear masks. The only time they put on a mask is when they have to interact with the public, which makes me think that the police union or somewhere in the police force is pushing back against masks pretty hard, because you'd think if Nenchi's saying masks for everyone, he's probably trying to tell the cops to wear them too. But at some level, they're saying no. I don't know what that means, but it seems like a positive sign.
It's got to a stage in this country where they're telling people to, when you go to a restaurant, you wear the mask till you sit down, and then you just take the mask off to eat and put it back on again.
It doesn't make sense.
Put it on in between bites.
Yeah.
Well, have you not seen the thing about pubs?
No.
So, like, only pubs now that serve food are the ones that can stay open in our kind of tier 3. We're in the high risk kind of zone.
Yeah, you've got to have a substantial meal.
So only those pubs can stay open a substantial meal. Yeah, so do you guys know what a pasty is? Have you ever heard of a pasty?
Cornish pasty?
Like a pastry?
Yeah.
Yeah, pasty, yeah.
Yeah, my mom used to make them.
A pasty is not...
That's not substantial enough?
That's not a substantial...
It has to have a side salad.
We're big.
Yes,
I mean, our pasties were massive. They cover your plate.
If we've got to have it with salad, I mean, that's a substantial meal.
The fucking health minister. Yeah, the fucking health minister had to come out and say, no, it has to have a side salad with it. It's just a fucking joke, isn't it? We're a laughing stock.
Imagine if you get busted. That's a pasty.
I gotta say, I mean, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way, but it just like you guys in Australia seem to just be like leading the way. Some of the headlines I see come out of those 2 countries, I just like, wow, and it kind of in a selfish way. It's like, at least I'm not those guys. At least I'm not forming a support bubble.
We've been playing clips from the state of Victoria in Australia.
Yeah.
I mean, there was one guy where the chief of police is doing this press conference, and he's talking about having to smash people's car windows and drag them out of the car.
Because they're not wearing
a mask. Because they're not wearing a mask, or they're trying to get out of the state, try to move from one state to another. I mean, it's unreal. I just can't believe that this is where we are. If you'd have told us 12 months ago that this is where we'd be.
Especially for this supposed virus that's so safe. I mean, it's really not even that deadly. If it was like going to kill 20% of the people that got it, you could say, well, if there's people dropping dead everywhere, well, got to put some measures in place, but this is ridiculous.
Yeah, compare it to Ebola or something, which, I mean, they're still having outbreaks now in DRC. I think they've just got on top of an outbreak there recently. But Ebola is the kind of thing that you want to worry about.
The WHO pinned a new study to the website. I just saw it today by, I think it's John Ioannidis, who's an epidemiologist from Harvard or Stanford, and he's done a study on the case fatality rate. And his latest figures are that the mean fatality rate is 0.23%, and for under 70s, it's 0.05%. And that's pinned to the WHO website. It's for your information.
See, I think people get confused with the percentages, the 0.0-something%, right? It doesn't sound like it's small amount, but it's very, very small, right? A percent is only 1 of 100. So 0.0, if there's 2 zeros, then it's 1 in 10,000, right?
Yep.
So I think people just don't understand. They don't want to even look at that stuff. They don't even care.
And
I got a note from one of our listeners, an exceptional. You want me to read it? It's from the
Don't
doctor.
say his name. Is that the guy that specifically said don't say?
Yeah, I won't say his name. This is to certify that Mr. Blah, blah, blah suffers from multiple chronic underlying health conditions. He required surgery when he was a baby for a diaphragmatic hernia. Unfortunately, this surgery has subsequently had a lifelong impact on his breathing. So this is like for a mask exemption. The mask exasperates his breathing complaints, and it is recommended that he should work in an isolation room where he is working within the school premises. Thank you for taking this into consideration. So I don't even know what that's saying. That he should still not, if he's not wearing a mask, then isolate him, basically.
The old PDF editor wrote.
oh my God.
Yeah, I think it's an important time not to follow the rules.
You've been saying, Darren, on your show that you've been getting a bit of fatigue with all the COVID talk.
Oh yeah, it sucks.
It's over 6 months now, isn't it?
It's coming up. It's got to be close to that for sure. It's been too much.
2 weeks to flatten the curve.
2 weeks to flatten the curve.
Yeah, this will be over by Easter. That's what they told us.
No trouble at all. Yeah, I'm sick of the COVID. Pretty sick of it. I mean, I've dug my heels in on a few things, and we'll see how the winter goes.
I listened to your last show with Pam Popper, which was very good.
Yeah, she's great.
There's another guy on YouTube. Have you heard of? He's got a bit of a funny name. It's called
Bhattacharya.
Bhattacharya. No, it's called Ivor Cummings.
It's not a real name.
It is. It's called Ivor Cummings. He has a podcast and a YouTube channel, but he's an Irish guy, and he's doing very similar to what Pam Popper's doing. He's going through all the numbers and breaking them down and filling people in. So I'd recommend it. If you like Pam Popper, I'm sure you'd like Ivor Cummings.
Ivor,
yeah, Cummings.
Okay, Ivor Cummings. Okay, yeah, I'll check it out.
Yeah. Oh man.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. I don't know. You guys are No Agenda listeners, aren't you? Or are you man overboard?
Yeah. Darren's overboard, but I'm still going. Yep.
Have you heard Adam talking about podcasting 2.0?
Yeah, a little bit.
Have you got any sort of inside knowledge, or what do you think it's about?
I don't. I was just thinking about that today because I heard him talking about Megyn Kelly's podcast and how he's going to focus on a solution for her.
Yeah, he's been sort of teasing something the last few weeks, and
yeah,
I was just wondering maybe if you'd heard anything.
Anything but come on the fucking Grimerica Show, I guess.
Well, we got to ask him. I mean, we haven't asked him in so long.
I've asked him several times.
Oh, have you? Lately or on Twitter?
Yeah. Sent him some emails.
Oh, really? Really? Did you give him a bunch of days?
Offer any Friday, any Tuesday. Why don't you pick the day?
You guys hit me in the mouth because I heard JCD on your podcast.
Oh, yeah.
I still recommend the show like crazy. It's
important. They've been doing really good deconstruction of the news. It's been an important... And during this time, it's interesting how many people have started listening to them and supporting them. And it's been an important part of this, deconstructing this whole narrative. And to see a bunch of people that are along our way of thinking with it, too. And, just seeing through the nonsense. So.
Yeah. I mean... You guys and No Agenda and OBDM and other guys have been a big influence on me when it comes to podcasting. And I think it's important to have, these sources of alternative media.
It used to be Guerrilla News Network back in the day, GNN.
Yeah.
I remember that from way, way long ago. Probably late 90s, pre-podcasting, I would say. Or in
Blog Talk Radio? Blog Talk Radio?
No, it was it was a YouTube channel, I think. It's probably around the same time as InfoWars started, I guess. But GNN
Put chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
That's the guy. Guerrilla News Network, and then it disappeared when all the podcasts came in because there's so many alternate kind of sources for that kind of thing. But yeah, I guess it's been going on a while. This kind of alternate media in various guises, and it's really blown up with the advent of podcasting, which is good, I suppose. But then it does dilute everything just a little bit.
Saturated.
Well, maybe, yeah. Especially with BBC Sounds getting in on the action. Like everyone's granddad's got a podcast now.
Do you guys get to leave the house for work or anything then, or are you guys just stuck at home?
I'm at home full time now.
That's been a choice, though, isn't it? That's what your business has chosen to do, isn't it?
They sold the office, so
all businesses are encouraged to get the staff to work from home.
To sell the office?
Yeah.
Cheap.
There's no point paying rent or a mortgage on a building you're not using, I suppose.
But I work in the health service, so they've stopped us from seeing people face to face, basically, for what I do.
Do you like working from home better? What are they? Well, how is it? You guys are in a bit of a stricter situation than we are, but is there any little positives from the COVID switch?
I don't have to drive to work, basically. Just take my kids to nursery and school, and I just come and sit in the front room and phone people all day. It's great.
Watch Netflix.
Better, yeah. Netflix and chill.
More time with the kids?
More time with the kids, yeah, I would say so. And it's not as stressed in the morning, getting them all dressed and then having to rush to work and then get through traffic or whatever to get there. So, yeah, I'd say it's better. Definitely.
I work in construction, so working from home's not really an option for me.
You could do video tutorials, couldn't you?
No, I don't think so.
Robot. She could use a robot and remote control it to...
There's no robot on Earth that can do my job. I'm indispensable.
Unless they stop building.
Yeah. It raises an interesting point, though, because it tends to be the sort of more middle-class areas of society who have the luxury of being able to work from home, whereas tends to be the lower classes who have to go out when everyone else is isolating.
Like you, Phil.
Like me, scumbags like me.
Stall out there a bit, Phil.
Oh dear. One thing I wanted to ask you about was censorship, because this is something that's sort of been on the rise. I think, particularly on social media during this crisis. You've had some brushes with censorship, haven't you?
A little bit. Our Instagram's getting throttled right now. They've been splashing warnings on our, and they're not even real warnings. They're false on our posts about, what was it about again? COVID or, comparing it to the flu. They're using AI in their warnings now, which doesn't even work properly. They're flagging stuff that shouldn't even be flagged. They're not even describing it properly. It's disgusting. And our podcast got shadow banned a little bit, talking to Del Bigtree way back when, what was that, last year? Maybe 2019, maybe? Couple of years ago, maybe. But other than that, we sort of fly under the radar. We're not really affected directly too much from censorship. I mean, we're fairly, we don't have to worry about ads or anything like that. We're not very easily cancelable. I guess if iTunes decided to fuck with us, it would hurt.
Yeah, maybe a bit, but I mean, I don't think a ton of people find the show by searching in iTunes at this point. I think we're lucky enough to be at that kind of point where we've got enough listeners that, even if we were hosting our own RSS feed, if it comes to that, we've still got, thousands of people that can help spread the word. I mean, I'm sure that's where most of our growth comes from now.
Word of mouth?
Other shows and word of mouth, yeah.
I love how you've sort of built a community around the podcast. That's something we're trying to do. We're only in baby steps, but I think it's really great what you've done.
Yes, I think it's partly Value for Value has done that. You know, it's not. There's a different feel from our show and No Agenda, let's say, compared to somebody who has the second half of the show behind a paywall, or it's a little more of like a business kind of thing and not so much of a community. But it comes with, you know, it's a long, like slow curve. I mean, we can't just quit our jobs or anything yet, you know.
Value.
It's not, we're covering our costs, but that's about it.
Value for Value being the theory that, you know, we don't take adverts, we don't put things behind paywalls, but if you get some value from listening, then pay some of that forward to us.
Yep.
What's your main reason for going for the Value for Value method?
That's a good question. I think we like the No Agenda model. I mean, I always thought before that the donation, which is kind of like Value for Value, the donation model would be a really good way to go. Just ask for donations. Like there was, you know, like somebody like Stefan Molyneux who would do Free Domain, where he did free books and all that, and he just survived on donations. I thought that was interesting because you don't have that corporate. But then when the No Agenda guys kind of put it into practice for podcasting, we thought, well, you know, we don't have to worry about, you know, corporate sponsors or ads or anything like that.
You don't have to. It offers a level of protection. It's I think a little more relaxed than some of the more thing where you're always kind of going to watch that RSS feed and protect it. And, you know, I just hear from some of the people that are doing that model. They're not complaining too much because they're doing well financially, but you know, it just seems like it's sort of one problem after another, and the feed goes down. And you know, there's a laziness aspect to it. When we kind of tiptoed into it, we weren't thinking we were ever going to make any money at it. So it just kind of started happening. Then we noticed the community and stuff like that. And I think it does help out with some, like, I think it helps out with some, like, workarounds on copyright and stuff like that too, when you're not selling something directly.
And we started getting the listeners involved with emails and sort of doing like this little intro before our interview, and that kind of, it was easy to just sort of transition into like staying with Value for Value, keeping the people that are listening involved, you know, sharing feedback on the show or synchronicities and sightings. And people at the beginning of this, like 7-8 years ago, you know, we were talking about UFOs and strange experiences, and people were really wanting to share their experiences, because we were still in that sort of new atheist skeptical phase where they were trying to poo-poo all this stuff. And I think that people needed an outlet, and podcasts were a good outlet for that. So I think that kind of helped us transition into Value for Value as well, because we kind of were already getting people involved organically.
I think integrity plays a big part in the Value for Value model. You know, that you're going to say what you think. It reminds, we had, when did we have Malin on? Malin Baker. It was about 2 months ago? 3 months ago?
139, yeah.
He's a YouTuber, and funnily enough, he had a YouTube flame war with Tony Heller.
Oh, wow.
Like a year or two ago. And he's an English guy. And,
is it a potholer?
It's not Potholer, but he knows Potholer 54. He's more, I mean, he doesn't really do climate change videos anymore. But anyway, besides the point, we got him on. And just the week that we had him on the podcast, he'd had his first video demonetized. And he said during the podcast, like, oh, it's just an algorithmic thing. I raised a complaint, and then within a couple of days, it had been reinstated. Like, unfortunately, all my views come within the first couple of days, so I lost out on that video. That was about 3 months ago. Every video since, I think, has now been demonetized.
Really?
Yep.
He
started a Patreon.
Value for Value, and I hate to hear it about people, but I mean, it was always a little precarious to build your entire business on the back of someone else's, you know, revenue, infrastructure, advertising, none of that is in your control. It's super to run that. And I'm not defending YouTube by any means, but it's kind of like to run an anti-narrative business or trying to make a business and not have control over any part of the delivery is it's like, it was an eye-opener for us right off the beginning. We got like a little knock from PayPal, and I've actually been talking to amazing Polly over the weekend because she just got knocked by PayPal.
She got knocked from YouTube too recently.
And demonetized?
No, like taken down. A whole whack of channels just got taken down.
Oh, really? Were they monetized?
Probably.
Yeah.
They're big ones, yeah.
So, anyway, once we had the PayPal fiasco and they just shut it down, locked it up, and in their defense, I mean, I don't even think it was what I think they do is I think PayPal gets used for all sorts of sketchy shit. Let's be honest. PayPal gets used for all sorts of below par shit. I was, you can buy drugs with PayPal and different things. I mean, you shouldn't do that, especially if you're running a business through PayPal, because if you get caught buying drugs with your PayPal account, they will instantly freeze it and seize all the funds. But anyway, there's a bunch of shady money flying around with PayPal. And what I think they do is they just sort of, they grab a bunch of them every once in a while and they fucking send out this notice saying that, for blah, blah, blah bullshit reason, we're taking your thing. And if you contest, your money will be available in a few months. And honestly, like I called PayPal and within a call or two and a couple of days, a PayPal account was up and running again. But what I think happens is if they do that to 1,000 accounts, like 100 people or 50 people are just like, oh, fuck. Pull out.
And they might have 5 or 10 grand in their thing that PayPal just keeps, right?
I think it's a quick cash grab because I think it's a way to anyone who doesn't complain either has a reason or for whatever, I think it's a fucking cash grab because they're not subject to certain laws and regulations, and it gives them the ability to do that. Because honestly, it was literally one phone call to PayPal and our account was back on. And I'm hoping I reached out to Polly and let her know that was our experience, and she was going to call them tomorrow. And I'm hoping it'll work out that way for her. I think that with us, it's at the lower level of being intertwined and all that. But I think PayPal has shut down a bunch of people. They've taken them off. I mean, there's a risk when you get too big that they can just shut you off, whether it's MasterCard or PayPal. I mean, look at some of these guys that are anti-narrative and are much bigger. They're getting hosed by everybody. You can't be monetized on YouTube, though. That's like the number one rule that I'm noticing so far and I'm sure there's examples of channels that aren't monetized getting hit.
Yeah, but they're probably at 50,000 subs at least, or 100,000.
It seems like almost like to the people that I know that I've talked to that have got hit by YouTube, it's almost to a person that they've been monetized. And, in the back of my head, I'm just like, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? What are you thinking?
I know, but the problem is the anti-narrative, like, it just changes with the wind, right? It can be one thing or another, and they start eating themselves. I mean, they eat, like this guy that you mentioned the example of who was in a fight with Tony Heller. To me, it almost seems like, well, is he part of the mainstream narrative if he's against Tony Heller? It'd be interesting, but they're coming for them too. Like, it depends on whatever.
It depends on the
they
subject.
Decide to start canceling. It's disgusting.
1984. Is it East Asia or Eurasia?
But
if you're in bed taking money from the corporations, then I think you're just setting yourself up.
Yeah, but now it's at a level that we couldn't have imagined 6 months ago. So let's say this Biden stuff that comes out is true, right? Which we know, we've been hearing about this shit for years. So it's no shocker to us at all. And I'm talking about you guys too, because you listen to No Agenda or whatever. And this stuff comes out and they start canceling, whatever, the president's press secretary's account, the White House stuff. They start canceling.
This was Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah. And Facebook, Twitter, and what else? I mean, then there's that YouTube purge, which happened right afterwards as well, because people are talking about it. So you can say if you're with the narrative and you're lying about shit, it's fine. But if you're against the narrative with the truth, it's literally getting canceled. I mean, it's mind-boggling. We're in bizarro world right now, and I don't even know how many people realize that the lies are allowed. They're actually pushed faster and farther, and the truth is completely canceled. Whether, and I'm not saying it doesn't have to be like partisan or political or whatever. We're just talking about real stuff that happened. If it happened. And I mean, we all know that
they want to trick us into handing over the social media companies to the governments happily over the argument that at least the governments will give us free speech or something like that. That seems lately, that's what I'm thinking the play is that, and again, we had this conversation with, is it Monica?
Yeah, probably.
Perez, how if Trump wasn't president right now, how do you think right-wing America, and I'm not saying that in a derogatory way in any form,
deplorables,
how do you think right-wing America will be taking COVID restrictions? What do you think would have happened if Hillary Clinton tried to lock the country in their houses?
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, and also, do you think that the American right would let Joe Biden, or, it's just like Trump seems to have this handle on the right that he can do all the stuff that might have seemed crazy under any other president. People would be up in fucking arms, but he's got this way of selling it, or, and it's not just him. It's the whole state and the whole facade of manipulating us into thinking because now we're going to get Facebook drug into the Senate hearings to see all about these emails again. We're talking about fucking emails again. And I'm of the mind that there is no partisanship, and it's all that's just for us. And everything else is just the fucking fascist state running a game on us so that we can keep arguing about things while they do whatever the fuck they want in the background. And I think right now they're sort of tilting for the last couple of years. They've been trying to twist this narrative to turn a lot of the people that should be against the government controlling giant corporations that the entire population uses, like Facebook or Twitter or fill in the blank. And you can see this sort of free speech thing coming up where there are other private companies that can do whatever they want, blah, blah, blah. And I can almost see that spinning into, well, maybe they shouldn't be private companies so that they're subject to the Constitution or the Bill of Rights or fill in the blank. That's how they'll sell it to you. And we'll jump on it. And then it'll just be now that the government is no longer ambiguously Facebook. They're just Facebook.
You just have a giant publicly owned propaganda machine.
You can see us, and everyone's trying to call it socialism. I would argue it's closer to fascism, but you can see the general public on the left and the right both starting to become okay with the government kind of controlling these giant fucking powerful tentacles. Even more so, like the tentacles that have been around forever, but now they're reinforcing them. And the people that have historically pushed back against that are about to get duped into supporting it, I think.
You sound like you're talking about the octopus of global control.
Yeah.
Did you take it home?
Yeah, no, it's down there somewhere, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not 100% with Darren on this. We have a different view. Like, Trump doesn't have to sell this to a lot of the right wing, because he's out there at the World Economic Forum in Davos actually saying that we are not going to participate in this globalist agenda, that we're going to fight. And that could all be theater, but when it gets to that level and it sounds that genuine, I can't really necessarily just say, oh, that's all theater too. Like, I just can't. I can't buy it. I still have a faint hope that, that the Great Reset is not part of this Trump scheme, that Trump might push back. We'll have to see, like, honestly, in the next month what happens. But I'm not necessarily I kind of understand what Darren...
When the lockdowns are over, because right-wing America will not let Joe Biden lock them in their houses. I don't think.
Well, civil war. Then it's civil war. Then it's going to be that. So, because what's really interesting is we talked about violence and guns and stuff before, and defending and the when we grew up, like I grew up thinking violence is bad. Physical violence. You can't punch somebody. You can't, attack them because they're going to attack you back. They're allowed to attack you back, or you're going to get, busted for being physical with somebody. And right now in the States, they're just allowing all that to happen. I mean, the people that are getting in trouble from these bought and paid for DAs and mayors and shit they're the ones that are defending the property. So there's a real discombobulation there, which, I can't see what that's just. It's a takeover of the freedom of the states. I mean,
what was that meme? That meme, was it fiery but mainly peaceful protests?
Yeah.
And the city's on fire behind him.
I mean, mostly peaceful, right? And they just let all those people out. They can do whatever they want now, violent wise, and
but it could still be mostly peaceful.
Could be.
If you had like 100 cities in the States protesting and rioting, but the media just focused on the 4 cities that burned themselves to the ground.
No, the media is not focusing on. That's the problem, right? That's why.
Well, it is to some extent because it's all I've heard of for the last 2 months is.
Yeah, but that's
burning and protesting.
Yeah, but that's not coming from the media. That's coming from alternative media.
I think.
Yeah.
Just going back to Graham, what he was saying about Trump, whether he's legit or not. I think you have to acknowledge that pulling out of the Paris Climate Agreement and the Iran deal were pretty big moves.
That's what I mean by he doesn't have to sell it because he's doing these big things. It's not just a sales job.
Seems that way. Seems that way.
The global warming pan. But I mean, I kind of let's flip flop back to Darren's
stuff. That's just fake money stuff. He's still fucking clamping down on fucking taking over the world by the tip of a gun. We're still sending warships they're still sending warships to Venezuela. They're still getting ready to fucking take out an unelected leader over narco-terrorism. I mean, the show is just going on.
Yeah, but he can't just put his foot in front of all that. I mean, he can't stop all that. He's got to play the game to a certain point. He does. I mean, I don't agree with the way he's handled COVID and vaccines either. Not for the way that a lot of other people will say it. Like, it's not his fault that all these fake deaths have happened, or you know what I mean, like forged fucking death certificates. But
let you out of your house.
But the vaccine thing is kind of annoying. I mean, he's sort of pushing that warp speed full ahead, and I mean, I feel like he could actually break this whole thing open because I mean, we know what a farce this is all built on. But so it's disappointing to me that he's playing that game still.
I think pushing the vaccine's more of a political thing for him because he wants to try and be seen to be getting it done before the election.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
I don't think he's worried about losing the election.
You don't think what?
No, I don't think he's worried about losing the election one bit. I'll be floored if Biden wins the election. I'll be floored for the simple fact that the last 4 years, the American people have been robbed more than they've been robbed in the last fucking 50. And they're cheering for more because all they can care about is fuck Trump or yay Trump. They don't even care about $5 trillion, the largest upward transfer of wealth in the history of the planet. Nobody cares.
No, it's just Orange Man bad, isn't it?
Orange Man bad or Orange Man good?
I don't know. I sort of lean towards that it's all just a dog and pony show. We've had the same guest on, the Odd Man Out. I think you had him on earlier in the year.
Yeah.
I think the best descriptor I've ever heard is Dave McGowan calling it the entertainment division of the military-industrial complex.
Well, now it's the entertainment division of the big pharma complex or the health industrial complex.
Think they're the same, though.
No. Yeah, the Odd Man Out's been great. He's been going on the boiler room and stuff before quite a bit. Yeah.
I need to give him a shout out because he made an announcement that he's moving over to alternate current radio. He's moving his show over. And he's joining the Social Rejects Club. So I said I was messaging him earlier today, so I said I'd give him a shout out. He's going to start having interviews, you see.
Oh.
So that sounds interesting, Support your independent podcasters.
Totally.
Yeah.
Did you guys change time yet?
Sorry, Darren?
Did you guys change time yet?
End of the month.
Yeah.
26, I think.
You guys are always couple weeks before us. It throws everything off for a while.
How do you change your time as well?
I think at the beginning of November, right?
November.
Yeah, so we're a couple weeks past you. So for a while there, we're an extra hour away from you.
Oh.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking about censorship before. Have you tried playing with any of the alternate social media stuff, like Parler and Gab and BitChute and stuff?
I don't even want to be on the social media.
Yeah, I know, it's hard. The only reason we do it is for the show, really. I mean, the only reason I'm on Instagram is for the show, and it's addicting enough for me. But I'm not on Twitter, and I'm not on Facebook myself, and I thought about, should this be the time when I get on Parler personally or for the show? And I'm just like, no, I can't do it.
I see no evidence that social media is good for people.
Yeah, I think we're unanimous, aren't we, that we detest it?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
We really don't like it. I'm totally with you, Darren. I think the negative impacts, especially young girls in particular, like teenage girls, there's some real serious consequences to all this. And we're just sort of playing a big experiment in our population, unleashing these tools on the population without really thinking about what the negative consequences could be.
Yeah, and I
taking this thing where it used to be like, I remember when I was a kid, we used to talk about there'd be this van around town. Watch out for the white van. We've been reported watching the playground, and you get scared about that. And I was lucky. I grew up in a small town, but in some ways, it's kind of the safest time to be alive, where you can walk to the store or the park and you're not going to have any problems. But in the other time, we've sort of let this fucking thing right into our house now, because now your kid can be up in their bedroom looking at a screen, and they've just got, all these fucking wackos now invading the kids' games and everything else. And it's like this weird thing where the external world has gotten safer than ever, but now we've got to be constantly on guard inside our own houses.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily social media. I guess some of it is, that could be like YouTube or gaming. Like there's a kind of a difference between social media and online activity, right? But I wonder if social media would be as bad if there wasn't the algorithm and the corralling people in the bubbles, and if they didn't mess with it, would it be so bad? I mean, maybe
no, it was always bad.
I don't think so. I attribute the main problem with the censorship part, the corralling, the algorithms, the trying to sell you the stuff. If we just had platforms to engage without being trying to, sell us corporates.
The low-end problem, what you're explaining. I think the high-end problem is comparing ourselves to other people's fake lives, because nobody posts the day they came home and lost their job and drank 3 beer and wrecked their house because they're having a bad day. They just post, the selfie with the perfectly done hair and the filters and everything else. And especially what you were talking about with the young girls, I think this is a huge problem. Nothing they look at on the internet is real, and they're comparing themselves to these just fake filters, 45-second beep, 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 next. And we've taken the television problem. I used to see these pretty people on television that were cooler than you and better looking than you, and you wish you could be like, and now it's like
your next door neighbor.
It's everybody in your life is better than you, because you don't hear about, unless they're a close friend who's telling you about their problems and their shortcomings and their failings. I mean, we've all got this sort of naive idea that everyone else's life is going great but ours, and the grass is greener on the other side. And I think social media has done a really, really, really good job of exasperating that, because if Graham's having a bad day and we're hanging out together, within a half an hour, 45 minutes, I'm going to figure out Graham's a little off. But if I'm just looking at his Facebook page, Graham might be way the fuck off by the time anybody notices.
Yeah, it paints a false picture of reality for people, and then people see other people's lives, their perfect lives, and then they feel inadequate, and it causes all sorts of problems for people.
I think especially for, like you said, young girls.
Yeah, well, my brother used to be a teacher, and he said that the online bullying, it always happened in the early hours of the morning when these girls are on the devices.
Like when they get up, you mean? Or
no, like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh my God.
It's the thing, it's become the alarm clock, hasn't it? It never leaves your side. And these girls have the phones by the bed at night, and that's when it all happens, in the early hours of the morning.
But the other thing as well is it's the It's the type of bullying. So who's that guy on Rogan?
Jonathan Haidt.
Yeah, we was talking about it's sort of the perfect medium for girls to bully each other because it's the kind of bullying that they do. It's psychological, basically. So they can message each other and take the piss out, bitch against each other or whatever. Whereas boys tend to just beat each other up, basically, or, grab someone or punch someone. I'm sure they do the same sort of thing as well, but it's particularly bad for girls because of that reason, because it's less physical bullying and more psychological.
Yeah, he had some terrifying numbers, Jonathan Haidt, about the impact it's having on things like suicide for young girls. And I mean, it's just, as soon as I heard that.
There's a massive correlation, isn't there, like between the two, and sort of it just skyrocketing from 2010, wasn't it, basically?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, it seems to be when the smart devices came in and the social media became way, way, way more prevalent.
Mm-hmm. So I like what you're doing with the chats as sort of an alternative, having the Discord.
For now, we got a backup system ready to go in case Discord gets fucky.
Yeah, somebody just got off Discord, shut them down too. Another
really?
Yeah. So it's everywhere, yeah. So we're trying to back up everything so that it's totally self-sustainable. Like No Agenda, right?
Was that another podcast? Yeah. Another podcast who had the Discord shut down?
Yeah, I think it was, or a YouTuber, yeah.
Bloody hell.
Probably somebody talking about Q or something like that,
Well, yeah, the QAnon thing's been purged this week, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, fucking strange times. I don't know.
Very strange. It does make me wonder, like, is there a bunch of underground tunnels and this whole world we're on is just, the foundations is based on human trafficking, child trafficking, and underground. I mean, you start hearing enough of that stuff and you're like, maybe that is real.
We're almost at 1,000 people in the chat.
Yeah, I'm one of them. Come and find me, Amish Phil.
Amish Phil.
Say hello.
Nice.
Not Amish. Graham's been calling you guys the Amish Inquisition.
Yeah, I'll laugh my head off at that when you read my synchronicity out. Thanks for the 6.7, by the way, Darren.
Anytime, bro.
I'll say that. I'll take 6.7 any day for a compound. Triple compound.
It was forced, wasn't it, unfortunately?
But the thing was, if I forced it, he became 1177. The guy who wrote the book became the 1177. I couldn't not let that happen.
Exactly. There was no forcing there at all. I'm with you 100% there, Phil.
There we are. I'll do for me. Well, on that note, we're rocking up on time. It's been an hour already, I think.
Yeah.
Time flies.
Oh, no. Oh, it's been a real treat.
Supposed to come there next year, but I don't know. It's not looking good.
Yeah, we're going to do like Contact in the Castle one of these days.
Which have you got your a particular castle earmarked?
We did have a couple actually
lined up. Yeah, but it all fell apart with the
Rona,
with everything else.
Why don't you come to Lancaster Castle? It's just 10 minutes on the train from us. There
you go.
That's the deal.
Yeah.
One of my favorite times was traveling around the UK with my mom, my dad, and my sister, and we're just driving around. We had a map, and we're just looking for the little castle pictures on the map, and we'd just go castle hunting. And sometimes you'd come across an old ruin, which is barely a castle, and sometimes it was like this magnificent Hollywood type castle. It was just fantastic. Just driving around the UK for a week. Yeah,
nice.
Loved it.
One day.
Yeah.
Best make it summer though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty
I'm
shit.
looking at snow right now.
Oh man.
Oh really?
Really?
Oh man. Well, on that,
it's minus 10 here today.
Okay.
What?
It was minus 10 when I woke up this morning. My chicken water was frozen fucking solid. That's where we're at.
On that note of frozen chicken water, shall we wrap it up? What have you got planned for the future?
That's a good question.
I'll probably have a nap.
Audiobooks. we're doing some audiobooks, and we're the future's in flux right now. But yeah, continue the same thing, I guess, with the podcasting and all that. Yeah.
Well, keep
over the world.
Keep up the good work. I love it. I love your podcast, and thanks for coming. You really made my day.
Thanks, you guys. It's been a blast. Yeah, to keep up the good work yourselves.
I'll try our best.
Power.
Stay on the line for us, boys, while we just play ourselves out.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Check out Grimerica Show. All the links will be in the description, as usual. And stay tuned. Don't touch that dial. We'll be back in a minute. Okay, we're back.
The dwarf, the cripple, and the mother of madness.
That was our chat with Darren and Graham from Grimerica. The nicest guys in podcasting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's certainly nice for coming on our podcast, aren't they?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was great. I really enjoyed that. I'm sure I think a lot of people listening already probably listen to Grimerica.
Probably, because we're just as good.
I think there's a lot of crossover. Fucking hell, right. Yeah, all the links will be in the show notes, so check it out. And come and hit me up in the chats if you're in the Grimerica chats. Find me, Amish Phil. What do the kids say? Slip me a DM.
Do they? I don't think they say slip me a D.
It's called sliding into your DMs.
Oh,
if you're trying,
is it?
if you're trying to have relations with someone.
I genuinely thought that was something to do with Dr. Mines. And this is the first time I've made the connection with direct messages. That's how old I am, folks.
Are you being serious?
Yeah, genuinely serious. Slide into my DMs. All right, okay.
Doc Martins.
Yeah,
Oh my god.
my boots.
Fuck's sake.
Housekeeping. Housekeeping.
Housekeeping.
Right. How do you become a producer of the Armis Inquisition?
Throw
No.
us-
No. Fuck's sake. iTunes reviews we want, don't we?
Throw us an iTunes review, I was going to say.
Cough up an iTunes review. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on, subscribe to us on YouTube if you want to see how the sausage is made.
Send messages.
Yeah, send us messages. Send us links. News
Material.
stories. That's the best way. Well, the second best way of becoming a producer. Sending us material, clips, news articles,
Yes.
videos. We love it.
Anything.
Anything you want to spend your time on doing that would be a benefit to us.
Email.
Just a picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, email us at thearmisinquisition@gmail.com. What's the number one way of becoming a producer?
Give us some effing money.
Cough up a coin in the style of Andrew Shakin.
Toss a coin to your witcher, oh valley of plenty, oh valley.
I think you're hitting the point, Phil, that
Coin to your witcher, oh valley.
it really bothers me. Because I believe I have an issue in this respect.
It's the little mouth vom gets me every time. So yeah, birthday shout. There's only one birthday shout this week, and it's to Amish Matt for tomorrow.
Yeah, thanks.
He is.
21 again.
Yeah.
You're having to work as well.
Yeah, I just didn't take the day off. Do you take your birthday off?
No, it's just another day, another number to me.
Yeah.
It's just another day. I imagine I'll be getting up with the children in the morning. So
My missus gets in a strop if she can't have the whole week off.
what?
Yeah, lunatic.
I've got my book. It's my first book. It's my first birthday book.
A birthday book. Oh, what's that? Adventures.
Adventures in the Anthropocene.
Yeah.
Who's that by?
Gaia Vince.
Gaia. His name's Gaia, and he's wrote a book about Earth.
You're assuming the gender.
Okay, sorry.
And Gaia's a girl's name, I think.
That sounds interesting. What else are you getting for your birthday?
I accidentally subscribed to The Athletic again this year, so that's the main present. That costs £60, and they're advertising it for £12.
Yeah.
So that was a bit of a kick in the balls. And it appears my mum has bought me a book as well. I've not seen what that one is yet.
Excellent. thus concludes the birthday shout-outs.
Yes.
Thank you.
We better thank our producers for episode 155, haven't we?
Yeah.
We have Night Ninja, Gav Scott, Diogenes of Sinope, Amy the Artist, Gizbane, Tamburista 2020, and Raymond Jet Squad. You are
Raymond Jet Squad.
You are so amazing in your love.
They are.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
So amazing in their love.
I've been coming to terms with the fact that
I'm a Marxist.
I'm literally a communist.
The dwarf, the
Carrot,
the
grape,
the
Plants.
the cripple, and the mother of
feces.
From hell.
Thanks again. Thanks. This is a thank you from the mother of feces from hell. Thank you for your support for another week. It means the world to us. We need help. We need help with you helping us produce this stuff.
So was that a live mix again?
I am, yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Would you like to hear another live mix?
Yeah, why not?
COVID-19 news.
Dr. Jayanta Bhattacharya.
More lives this year than any other year for the past 100 years.
The magic vaccine.
A big fat shot in the ass.
From hell.
You know, it's just, super painful.
Like a judgment day and terminating.
This is such a crock of shit.
This is
Dr. Bhattacharya.
How's that?
Oh, yes.
It's good because it ended with me.
Yeah. Birthday.
Birthday treat. October surprise for Amish Man. Yeah, we're fucking loaded. We're loaded.
Dr. Jayanta Bhattacharya.
Loaded with COVID news this week. Shall we have a quick European roundup?
Sure.
Yeah,
Why not?
This is from Euronews.
Italy is bracing itself for another possible lockdown after the country registered a record number of new coronavirus cases. And the pressure on hospitals continues to rise. On Friday, there were 52 more people in intensive care wards and over 380 more hospital admissions. I'm afraid of the new measures. I don't think we need them because we can live well with spacing and masks. There's no need to close everything because if we don't die of COVID-19, we'll die of hunger. In England, more than half of the population are now under tighter coronavirus restrictions. London was put on the second highest level, but Northern England is hardest hit.
The further up north you come, the more penalised you have become. So you kind of
can't hear him because he's wearing a mask.
You can't do much about it because the last say is the government.
Is that Ronnie
In France,
Pickering?
Paris and the surrounding area, as well as 8 other cities, will now have to abide by a 9 p.m. curfew. Many bars, restaurants and cinemas will now have to shut as they'll be unable to make a profit. Many restaurant owners are angry as they've not recovered from the first lockdown, and 12,000 extra police officers will be deployed to enforce the new rules.
Getting pretty serious in France, isn't it? 9 p.m. curfew in most of the big areas.
Why? What does that do?
The virus only comes out at night.
Well, is it to stop people drinking? Are they saying that like everyone's going to get pissed after 9 o'clock?
It's more France. Everyone's drunk by lunchtime anyway.
It's to stop social interaction. We happen to socialise with each other
after 9.
Anytime, but
why didn't just say don't go out your house then?
Well, that was what they did in March, but they're reluctant to do it again for obvious reasons. So quit you. It's looking grim. It's looking grim for Europe. Looks like we're going into lockdown 2. Slightly milder, but still fucking grim, and I'm fucking sick of it. Anyway, we heard last week from David Nabarro, the WHO special envoy. He was categorically pleading with national governments to stop using lockdowns as the primary form of restricting the virus, and this obviously played into lockdown skeptics such as myself. But fear not, because WHO chief Dr. Tedros, i.e. not a real doctor, came out with a statement this week to counter the growing support for a change in strategy. Here's what he had to say.
There has been some discussion recently about the concept of reaching so-called herd immunity by letting the virus spread. Herd immunity is a concept used for vaccination, in which a population can be protected from a certain virus if a threshold of vaccination is reached. For example, herd immunity against measles requires about 95% of a population to be vaccinated. The remaining 5% will be protected by the fact that measles will not spread among those who are vaccinated. For polio, the threshold is about 80%. In other words, herd immunity is achieved by protecting people from a virus, not by exposing them to it. Never in the history of public health has herd immunity been used as a strategy for responding to an outbreak, let alone a pandemic. It's scientifically and ethically problematic.
He is intimating there that there is only one way to get herd immunity through vaccination. But obviously, if you go on Wikipedia, no, there are two ways to get herd immunity. It was first discovered naturally with measles in the 1930s. He's talking out his fucking arse.
No,
technically, by vaccinating people, you're exposing them to the virus, especially with live attenuated vaccines.
I thought, he obviously is intimating, isn't he, that it's a vaccination, but is he not saying that there's ethical reasons for not just letting it go through the population?
Just letting it go through the population isn't a strategy adopted by anyone so far, and it's neither the position of the Great Barrington Declaration. The whole strategy is you have a 3-month period where you focus all your resources on protecting the vulnerable, the elderly, the immunocompromised. You don't test. We won't get tested. Kids won't get tested. You focus all your testing on care workers, healthcare staff, and the elderly and the infirm. All your resources go on them to protect them while we develop herd immunity, the young and relatively fit.
Probably makes sense.
He says that he raised that there was an ethical question over it because there is a chance that some people will get sick and may end up being hospitalised or could even die.
Already are, though.
They already are. And I would argue that there is ethical questions over vaccination. Because people get ill and injured through vaccination.
Mm-hmm.
That's why there is a vaccine court in the United States. It's why pharmaceutical companies are requesting to be indemnified from any legal action.
Yeah, because they don't know, did he?
So don't give me that bullshit that there's an ethical... the same applies to vaccinations.
Is this not a... Ben probably knows better. A new type of vaccine as well, in the way that are they not repurposing the virus or something? Genetically.
I don't know what vaccines are being worked on at the moment. One's probably going to be RNA based, I imagine, because that was the latest thing.
That's what you're talking about, Matt. It's the Pfizer one, the RNA one,
right?
Which seems to fuck with your DNA.
Okay, so
what could go wrong?
I don't want to be the fly.
But the thing is, it'll be the same thing with the swine flu vaccination. They'll roll it out to all the healthcare staff first. They'll be the guinea pigs.
Mm.
And there were loads of nurses got ill, weren't there, during the swine flu vaccination programme? Before it was scrapped, if I'm not wrong.
I'm not sure I'll get it, to be honest with you. Unless they say they have to.
It's the fact that it's been rushed,
Well, that's why they want to shield themselves.
Exactly, yeah.
Because it could fuck you up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you gave them like 20 years to do a full, 3-phase trials and then, a decade of data gathering, I couldn't imagine anyone would want to bother with that, because it's so well tested that you would think that it's all right. But no one's going to buy that because we can't wait 20 years, or the perception is we can't wait 20 years.
Yeah.
And also, you don't get your money till 20 years' time. So there's a balance to be struck, I guess.
Even with 20 years of data, there will still be an element of risk.
Of course there will. You can't eliminate risk 100% in any venture.
No.
Even doing this podcast isn't 100% risk-free.
No. Yeah. Anyway, I think we covered that fairly well. Sticking with the WHO, we've got some news on the WHO. We have some news from on the CFR. In fact, I think I alluded to it when we were talking with Darren and Graham. Some news on the CFR of the virus, and this is from Ivor Cummings, whose YouTube channel we mentioned.
Another piece of seed. The World Health Organization yesterday quietly mounted Professor John Ioannidis' paper. He was correct on the infection fatality rate estimates back in April 2020, and he was scourged for coming out with them. But now the WHO has mounted his latest paper, and the estimates are overall infection fatality rate 0.23% median, corrected, and under 70s around 0.05% median. So this is order of magnitude or more lower than the projections that sent the world into hysteria. And this has been borne out by the data, as I showed you for Ireland.
So how did we end up in this mess? I hear you cry.
How
did we end? You're supposed to say, how did we end up in this mess?
How did we end up in this mess? Sorry, I drifted off because I want that guy to do audiobooks.
I was trying to get into the panto mood.
He's behind
you.
Oh, no, you're not. So how did we get into this mess?
Why did we end up in this mess? Well, Imperial College. They based their projections way back in March on 6 people who were infected out of 680 odd in 6 flights that came out of Wuhan. And it's in their paper. And these huge projections were copied by the world.
6 people.
You know, do you remember on our matesy WhatsApp chat when the Eamon released the Imperial College
he did
projection?
Yeah.
Saying, we've got a lockdown now. Look at this. That was based on 6 people.
Fuck's sake.
So, the fight against herd immunity is mounting, and Lieutenant Gruber from a lower low, our health secretary. Hans Gruber, yeah, the health secretary. Matt Hancock.
Oh.
He does look like Gruber from a lower low.
Okay.
He weighed in this week. And I'm gonna have to put, it's not a particularly long clip, but I'm gonna have to pause this as we go along because it's pretty incredible.
For a snack.
Some people have set out this more relaxed approach, including in the so-called Great Barrington Declaration.
So-called Great Barrington Declaration. Why would he use that term?
Is he just saying that it's great? Or saying people call it great? But isn't Great Barrington something other?
It's a place.
How was it named?
It's a
Great
place.
Barrington is a place.
Where it was
so
signed.
It's not actually called the Fantastic Barrington Declaration or whatever.
It immediately makes you think it's nonsense. That's why he said it, basically. The so-called. It makes you immediately think, that this is, it's
a way
shit on your shoe.
It's a way of undermining it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, continue.
And I want to take this argument head on, because on the substance, the Great Barrington Declaration is underpinned by 2 central claims, and both are emphatically false.
Emphatically false? What on earth could this be that's emphatically false? I wonder. Let's see.
First, it says that if enough people get COVID, we will reach herd immunity. This is not true. Many infectious diseases never reach herd immunity, like measles and malaria and AIDS and flu.
Right, well, measles isn't it? The WHO man just said 95% is herd immunity.
Yeah, measles is herd immunity is maintained by people continuing to get measles vaccines.
Correct. 1 in 4 measles cases require hospitalisation.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's bad. It's bad news, measles.
The case fatality rate for measles in some of the poorer countries in Africa is 10%.
Jesus.
And the most at risk are under 5s.
Oh.
Is it fair to draw a comparison between COVID-19 and the measles?
No.
I would say not.
You're comparing one type of apple with another type of apple.
Yeah. He then goes on, oh, yeah, do you remember, Ben, when you got off with that slag from Darwin and got a nasty case of malaria?
How could I forget?
He throws malaria in there. What are the infection vectors for malaria?
A plasmid in a
mosquito.
What is it? It's within a mosquito. Something within a mosquito. A parasite.
It's not even an infectious disease. There's no human transmission of malaria.
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
Is there?
No.
Then he brings up AIDS. Last time I checked, AIDS isn't fucking airborne.
Depends how you know.
Is it?
You could jizz into someone's mouth from the other side of the room or something.
If you slit your own jugular and sprayed a crowd full of people, that probably counts as airborne.
AIDS is very difficult to catch, and we have some pretty simple mechanisms to reduce that risk to very low. Would we agree on that? Condoms, for example.
Yeah. Not having sex.
Yeah, I don't.
Not touching.
Not sharing. Not sharing needles.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's a fair comparison to compare COVID-19 with AIDS. And then he comes up with flu, which at least is a fucking airborne seasonal virus like this. But we have a vaccine for the flu. We don't have a vaccine for COVID, and that is the reason why they're asking for this targeted herd immunity, because we don't have a vaccine. So anyway, I'll carry on.
And with increasing evidence of reinfection...
Increasing...
3 people.
Oh, yeah, 3 people. It's 3, isn't it? Yeah.
I checked this week, it's 5.
What? That's increasing.
5 out of 30 million.
Isn't that a 40% increase? So the rates of reinfection have increased 40% since me saying 3 and you saying 5.
Just in the last 30 seconds.
That's terrifying, Phil. Where's the newspapers?
We should have no confidence that we would ever reach herd immunity to COVID, even if everyone caught it. Herd immunity is a flawed goal without a vaccine, even if we could get to it, which we can't.
Sounds a bit defeatist, doesn't it?
So, what's the point in having a vaccine if you can't get to a herd immunity?
Correct!
So, you know, what is he fucking saying?
Who's he speaking for is the more important question.
You will have to get at least 1 vaccine every year.
It will be now, won't it? And is it not some evidence to say it's mutating or something? And to be a bit more contagious or something?
It's just mutating all the time. It probably will be getting more contagious and less deadly, because what's the point in killing your host? We've been through this before.
The second central claim is that we can segregate the old and the vulnerable on our way to herd immunity. This is simply not possible. As the medical director of the NHS...
We've already done it in March, haven't we?
Yeah, already done that. Already asked people to segregate themselves. So
We segregated 70 million people.
Exactly, yeah.
I'm sure we could, if we targeted it on the most vulnerable, we could probably do a better job.
Mm.
We made it a national effort.
We could probably enough police to board people into their houses.
No, I think if you explain to the general public and treat them like adults that this is what we're going to do.
Yeah, it's fair.
You know, this is it. We've got 3 months. Now till Christmas, this is the plan. Suck it up for these 3 months and then this is over. And you can be like, it'd be like living in Sweden, where people get on public transport and don't wear a mask and just go to bars and restaurants and life is normal. No deaths today in Sweden. I don't think they've had any this week.
You know.
Yeah.
But are there stats dying of COVID rather than dying with COVID?
No.
They are dying with.
They're classified, as far as I'm aware, they're classifying the same as us.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Whether they use the same cycle threshold for the PCR test, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Because we use 45 cycles, which is fucking insanity.
10 to
25 to 30 is clinically relevant.
That's how you control the numbers. So when the government are ready...
Ratchet it down.
Reduce the numbers and say, oh, look, it's working, they'll change the PCR cycle rate.
Yeah.
I said yesterday...
Sorry?
So I was going to say, probably after all this Brexit nonsense is finished.
Yeah, yeah.
Cannot somehow fence off the elderly and the vulnerable from risk while everyone else returns to normal. It's neither conscionable nor practicable. Not when so many people live in intergenerational homes, when older people need carers who, of course, themselves live in the community, and not when young people can suffer the debilitating impact of long COVID. Whenever we've seen cases among young people rise sharply, we then see cases among the over 60s rise inevitably thereafter.
Brings up the long COVID there.
Yeah, I don't think that's a thing. I'm gonna put my.
We had some anecdotal evidence about long COVID from one of our dear friends.
I might choose to die on that hill. Actually, the long COVID thing.
The last time we producer Aaron, the corrector, he said he knows a couple of people who've had a long COVID. I mean, it's only anecdotal. What's your theory on long COVID, Ben?
I think it's probably related to having it and feeling generally shitty for a while afterwards.
He said
people think it's PTSD related.
Well, the other thing when people describe it, when I've read about it, it sounds like depression.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's a consequence of, and it's a new thing. It's not long COVID.
It sounds like depression, but they also describe a lot of breathlessness. So unless that's like an anxiety response, because you can get breathless through anxiety, and that's PTSD. But could be. But the other thing that I've read is that people think it's some scientists have said it's
and we are not
4 different syndromes.
4 different syndromes?
Yeah. They didn't name them.
Right.
But it just said it's 4 different syndromes that might be happening.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, it's interesting and it's good that people are looking at it because people feeling shitty is not a good thing in general.
No. Yeah.
But it could be related to, social
isolation
situations, yeah.
Or depression. Yeah, who knows? More work needs to be done. There's something to keep an eye on anyway.
Yeah, I don't know what the percentage of COVID infections leads to long COVID. And the fact that they test negative is a bit of a red herring because even if you did like 100,000 PCR cycles, if they're still testing negative, then I don't know, maybe you could argue that it's completely different.
Unrelated.
Depends how you're testing. Of course. PCR is not a diagnostic test.
Okay, we'll move on to Newsnight. On Newsnight this week, Sir Mark Walport from Sage was on. Sir Mark, along with Sir Patrick Vallance and probably soon to be Sir Chris Whitty from Sage. I thought this was a revealing clip, where he let slip what the remit of SAGE actually is.
I wonder what you think about the way this is. I mean, is it still worth SAGE saying what it's saying?
Oh, it's essential. But I mean, I think actually your piece so far has illustrated the dilemma, which is that we saw the misery that goes with the economic harm that comes from this, the loss of work. And so SAGE is tasked with providing advice on what measures will bring the pandemic under control. But it is the job of politicians who are our policymakers to, as it were, balance the lives versus livelihoods risk.
Government's been under fire because it's been criticised for not following the SAGE advice this week, hasn't it? And Keir Starmer jumped on it.
It should be being more strict, is what they're saying, isn't it?
Yeah. But he sort of intimates there that the purpose of SAGE is to advise on how to control the pandemic. SAGE does not take into account any other healthcare... effects.
Well, it's all the other stuff, isn't it? Basically, like the loss of jobs, what that means for health. So everyone knows when you lose your job or when mass employment occurs, everything else tanks, doesn't it? Basically,
I've been working for an estate agent this week, and I've heard this anecdotally, but this is the first time I've heard it confirmed from an estate agent. And she said that since April, there's been an absolute boom in men looking for flats.
Oh, men. Right, okay. I thought you were going to say there's going to been a boom in house sales. There seems to be loads of houses sold near us recently.
That as well, because there's a stamp duty holiday till March.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a boom because of the stamp duty cut that Rishi Sunak announced, but the other
everyone's breaking up.
The other boom is, men looking for flats. And we know this isn't good for us, and not for the next generation either.
Not for children.
But, long COVID, so... Anyway, shall we move on to happier places?
Andrew Shackman.
Do you know Australia?
I've heard of it.
Yeah. Do you think you might need another reason not to move to Australia?
Massive spiders? Is there a massive flying spider?
School's back, and so are knits.
I hate head lice. Everyone gets it, and then we get it. It's disgusting. There's little bugs in their hair. It gets in their pillows and their bedding. It's disgusting.
Lauren Bent's 4-year-old son Jet came home from daycare with them.
So there's nothing that we use that could have the bugs, and then they're growing, the nits are growing and they're getting bigger and they're in his ears.
They're called super lice, and they're increasingly difficult to get rid of.
Super lice.
Super lice have become resistant to those traditional chemicals that we have been using over time.
When chemicals don't work, natural products with tea tree and lavender oil can be used, but they're no guarantee.
There's no super easy solution. I think combing, you've got to comb the nits out, really.
1/3 of Australian children have head lice and expect more outbreaks this school term. Nits are rampant during the warmer months. They might be resistant to chemicals, but they're no match for good old-fashioned elbow grease.
1/3. 1/3 of kids in Australia have super lice.
Super nits.
Just fucking bick it off, don't you?
Bick it off.
Just fucking shave them all.
Yeah.
That's what they do when you put them in prison. Didn't that what they used to shave you and then just throw lye over you or something?
Just seems like everything's trying to kill you.
Yeah.
Kill you down there, isn't it?
But it's that, but it's just us, isn't it? It's instead of doing what our ancestors did and chimps and just going through your hair and crushing them, you're fucking putting chemicals on them and we're causing a problem, aren't we?
Yeah.
Oh, do you think they've become resistant?
That's what it is, yeah. As they've evolved, it's obviously the ones that are resistant to chemicals reproduce, don't they?
Can't become resistant to crushing.
I know, exactly. I can remember my grandma picking nits out of my hair and crushing them on my mum's sofa.
Oh, God.
Oh, my God. Fabric?
There was like two weird wooden
Oh, coasters for your drinks.
They weren't like coasters. I think it was like handles to, pull yourself up on. Basically, I can remember pulling them out of my head and going the back of a nail with a nail on the thing.
Did this smell of rich mahogany?
Mum's only just got rid of it, so.
The super lice. Oh my god.
So that's what you need to do. Just get yourself a knit comb. Fucking hell. Oh, hard is it?
Talking about domestic things, we got a new fridge last Sunday.
Has that got knits?
It's not got knits, but I walked into the kitchen the other day and my 8-year-old was stood aghast with the fridge door open. And he goes, I went, what's up? Why are you stood there like that? He goes, Dad, it has a light in it.
Have you deprived your children of a working fridge light?
We haven't had a light in the fridge for about 10 years.
Seriously?
No way.
How do you see?
Kitchen lights on. Ceiling light.
Oh my god.
Animals.
Same with oven.
Oh, what? How do you check?
Check what?
Are you like with the torch at the door? Is this fucking shit cooked or what?
It's my souffle risen.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll tell you. It's good to do a bit of light-hearted stuff. Everyone's been getting down, haven't they? Fed up with the Rona. I'll tell you what.
Back though.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was on last night.
I don't watch it.
There's a guy that's a bit like a handsome version of Chris Kamara.
Right.
I thought he's an American footballer.
Oh, I know. He does the NFL coverage on BBC Two, doesn't he, with Chappers? I've glanced past it once or twice late at night, waiting for Babe Station to come on.
Jeez.
An old day.
So yeah, everyone's getting a bit down, but I tell you what, there's one company in Silicon Valley that's got your back.
We don't know how long this will last. We don't know what the future will look like. But no matter what happens next, we'll be here for you. Because you've been there for us. You may be isolated, but you're not alone. Because we're here, making these difficult times a little easier. Making things feel normal, even if just for a minute. Pornhub. Here for you. For however long it takes. So let's be alone together. With Pornhub.
Professor, you're naked.
Hey, dude! What's up? You didn't see that, right?
I thought that was nice.
Wow.
Is that a real advert?
Yeah, it's one of our Instagram producers sent me that. Oh no, so it was Gav on the old Facebook. Yeah.
I didn't realise Pornhub needed to advertise.
I think it's just a PR thing, isn't it? They'll just make that, and for a couple of grand, send it out on social media. There you go. Give everyone a laugh. I thought it's a good thing to do. Put a smile on my face.
Even if just for a minute.
Yeah. Shall we finish with some election news? Some US election news.
It's coming up. Are we gonna have to do a special soon?
Oh, I don't know.
Election special.
Thing is,
what date? It's Thursday, isn't it?
It's not going to be done on the Thursday. This is going to go through to December.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Why?
Because there won't be a result, and because of the balls up with the mail-in ballots, they're still going to be counting ballots in December.
That's Tuesday.
Fucking.
It's always a Thursday.
Oh, is that why? Sorry, are they not doing polling stations? Then is that what?
Yeah, they are.
Right.
Yeah, they are, but there's going to be a massive uptake in mail-in ballots. Millions. They have to count millions and millions of ballots, and they've never done it like, I think, to this extent before. So it's going to go wrong, isn't it?
Just this.
What do you mean? Surely you think there's going to be more people voting this year, you mean?
Oh, it's going to be a record-breaking turnout, I think.
Right, okay.
Hasn't Trump already said he might not accept a Biden win?
Oh, he's just...
Both sides have said it.
They're just muddying the waters, aren't they, already?
Amazing.
There's only 2 standout candidates for me, isn't there? So let's hear from the first one.
America. What is America's destiny? What is best for our nation, our people? What is just? True justice. We have to think about all these things together as a people. To contemplate our future, to live up to our dream, we must have vision. We as a people will revive our nation's commitment to faith, to what our Constitution calls the free exercise of religion, including, of course, prayer. Through prayer, faith can be restored. We as a people are called to a greater purpose than ourselves. We are not only a beacon to the world, but we should be servants to each other, to encourage each other, to help each other, to lift up each other, our fellow Americans, that we may all prosper together. We have to act on faith with the sure knowledge that we are pursuing the right goals and doing the right things. We will build a stronger country by building stronger families. Families are the building blocks of society, of a nation. By turning to faith, we will be the kind of nation, the kind of people God intends us to be.
I am Kanye West, and I approve this message.
I thought that was pretty inspirational.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
He singles out families and the strength of the family. The country's built on the strength of the family unit. And I agree with that message. I think in general, men have to fucking step the game up.
Yeah.
And accept, live up to the responsibilities.
Or else go and buy a flat.
Yeah. I thought that was good. I thought it was a good presidential message.
So is he still actually in it then? Kanye West?
He's withdrawn.
He's not going to get, obviously no one's going to vote for him, but still, I think out of the, I was about to say it, I would vote for Kanye, but I'm obviously forgetting the other main contender in this election, aren't I?
Vermin Supreme is a candidate you can trust.
I have no intention of keeping any promise that I make.
He cares about the issues that matter most.
Zombie preparedness. We must be ready for the imminent zombie invasion on America.
Vermin Supreme will give you a free pony.
Free!
He is the only candidate that will fund time travel research.
I will kill the infant Hitler with my own bare hands.
He also has progressive ideas for renewable energy.
We have giant turbines that we're working on, and we will have lots of zombies, and we'll just sort of dangle brains in front of them, and then they will turn the giant turbines, creating energy to lessen the dependence on foreign oil in America here today.
Vermin Supreme cares about your teeth.
What this mandatory toothbrushing law is really about is strong teeth for a strong America.
Vermin Supreme, a tyrant you can trust.
Yeah. Guess my vote. The 4 pillars of Vermin Supreme's campaign: zombie preparedness, mandatory toothbrushing laws, time travel research, and free ponies for all.
I can get behind all of those.
Guess my vote.
Plus, President Vermin Supreme.
Yeah.
What better way to end?
Time to go, is it?
I don't know. Have you got some more?
I got hairy
Cunt! Because I'm literally a...
Did you say, I thought you said that was the last one. Have you got some more for us?
Nope. No, I'm done.
Right, okay.
All right. Well, I really enjoyed this episode, as I enjoy all episodes. And if I was a listener, I'd want to perhaps issue some coinage our way, or at least get in touch with some stories, get involved. Spam us with your stuff.
Spam us with your jizz. Stuff.
Second all that. We've got Ken Ami on next week. Going to do some occult deconstruction. Talk some fucking Nephilims and all that shit. Can't wait for that. So, yeah.
And it really bothers me.
Look forward to it. Right. Well, I hope some of you Grimericans are still here. Say hello to us in the chats. See you next week. Thanks for another week.
Bye.
Bye.
Cunt!
Grape. Come here, goosey pig.
Communist.
Yes! Sonny Pickering!
Who the fuck's that?
Yeah, me!
Because I believe I have an issue in this respect.
The cosmic comes and
put on your fucking muzzle if you go to the shop.
I got hairy legs.
Because I'm literally a communist.
The dwarf, the currant, the grape, the cunt, the cripple, and the mother of
feces from hell.